Hello YouTube, welcome to Raising Vibrations with myself, Simon. Today I'm going to be bringing you the first insert of my Pluto series that I've just recently created. We're going to be starting off with Aries and understanding the core fundamental dynamics associated with the sign and the symbolism over here. So that's what we're going to be doing today, okay? Now, for anybody that has just watched this video or just started watching this video and you haven't watched the introduction video to the series, I highly recommend that you do that right now. I've put everything in a playlist over here, so if you just click on the playlist at the top, you'll see that there is an introduction video. I basically cover some really important understandings and facts relating to Pluto in itself and how we understand and see it through the birth chart, and hopefully to sort of like ground us a little bit in the principles associated with it, so that I can just babble a little bit about how Pluto actually works within the sign versus having to explain some other dynamics, okay? So like I said, I highly recommend watching the first video before you go into this, okay? All right, so let's begin, right? Firstly, we're beginning with Aries, and for any of you that are out there that has Pluto in the first house, okay, this will be the video that you would be wanting to watch. Now, Pluto has not been in Aries for a very long time, and so therefore nobody on Earth has actually got this as a generation. So for everybody that has got Pluto in the first house, in other words, the Aries house, the first one over there, it's right in the beginning phase of your astrology chart. If you're unaware of where that exists in your own charts, come over to my website, simonforster.com, or write in the comments below and write to me, and we can sort of get that information for you, okay? All right, so Aries. What we're looking at here, as you can see from the symbolism, is the new beginnings. It is the relationship that we have to our reality and to our world that expresses everything that is completely new, okay? So there are three sort of ways in which I can express this. Number one is the expression of how a seed breaks through the ground and starts its first journey to become whatever it is. So if you're looking at a plant, for instance, or if you're looking at a tree, or if you're looking at sort of some foods, etc., then it is that beginning phase, right in the beginning, okay? Then through that experience, it will relate to the energy that is associated with this symbolism, okay? With Aries, it is the new beginning, so the experience is completely and utterly requirement of freedom, total freedom, okay? So that it can express itself in any direction that it wants to, because it's the expression of freedom that allows it to understand that it is new, okay? Because that freedom is needed and desired specifically because there is nothing that exists in front of it. It is unknown, and so the exploration of that experience is completely and utterly required from freedom, right? Freedom gives it that understanding to go in any direction that it can, so that it can explore whatever it is that it wants to explore. So Aries on the archetype in itself will correlate to new beginnings, the birthing of everything, the birthing of every single new moment that exists. And it will relate to requiring of total freedom to explore the unknown, because it is unknown. It only is aware of itself because the attention and awareness is only on itself, because that's all it knows. So it's searching for something outside of itself, and it's going to explore. The third and most sort of important dynamic that is associated with Aries will relate and correlate to the separating desires that the soul has specifically set up for this lifetime to actualize the desires of the soul, okay? So, in other words, Aries, Mars, and the first house will relate on a conscious level, in other words, what we are most aware of, okay? Our actions. It will define our actions. These actions will be connected to our desires on an unconscious level. And so what we're looking at here when it comes to Aries, the first house, and Pluto, Pluto, Mars, is the relationship that Pluto has to Mars, the separating desires. In other words, our actions. It is how we instinctively react to any single moment in time that will then teach us more about who we are and what we are, okay? And when you string together a collection of actions, you then start to become aware. You see it as a movie. If you just observe your life and you look at the actions that you had throughout your, not your life, your day, and you just observe the actions that you had in your day, okay, you will see there is like this mirror of information about what and who you are and how you define yourself by those actions, okay? So Pluto and Aries has a very special relationship because it is the relationship of the separating desires. In other words, the reasons as to why your soul came into this incarnation to actually actualize self-awareness. So when we're looking at Pluto now in the sign Aries, or in the first house for everybody, we are looking at the soul's incarnation, okay, of requiring total freedom, understanding the relationship to freedom, in other words, what it means to be completely independent, to completely and ultimately understand its relationship to everything around itself, and to desire, its separating desire is to desire complete and utter self-exploration, to learn everything about itself. So who am I is what Pluto and Aries is, or Pluto in the first house. The soul will naturally gravitate, your desires will naturally be orientated towards becoming free and understanding the freedoms of exploration and all the dynamics associated with that. Now, one of the things that will be connected to Pluto in the first house will be a soul that will come into this incarnation needing to search for three things, okay? Number one, to completely and utterly move away from anxiety, okay? The reason why anxiety is the case is because from the point of view of beginning something new, okay, we are completely unfamiliar with what is going to happen to us. And so we feel that sense of insecurity and anxiety because without knowing what's in front of us, it's the darkness. So just walk into a room that is completely dark. You feel a little bit sort of nervous. You feel a little bit anxious because you're not aware of what is lies in front of you. But there is a need to search for it. So Pluto in the first house will correlate to having to go through that experience of anxiety, where it will have to explore things. And that is the driving, that is the point, that is the driving focus behind this whole experience, is to acknowledge that anxiety so that will propel you into the future or into the direction that you want to go, that exploration. The second thing is completely and utterly becoming aware of total inner security. The reason why there's security associated with Aries is because from Aries, when you are born in this lifetime, okay, the relationship to actually leaving the mother's womb, Cancer, fourth house, and actually returning back to the mother's body, okay, will create this inherent feeling of completely and utterly no security. Because as we leave the mother's womb, which is security, that is our known place, to a space that is completely and utterly foreign to us, we don't get any sense of security, okay, until we have reached the mother again, where she can feel and create that sense of security within ourselves, so that we can start to develop that sense of security. And so Aries in the first, Pluto in the first house will also feel the need to return to the sense of security, return back to the womb, okay? And when we take that a little step higher and we understand what it actually represents, it represents returning to who I am, returning to the understanding of the totality of creation and who it is that I am. So that's why I say it is the relationship of becoming aware of what it is that I am and who that is that I am. Okay? So one of the dynamics that are then associated with Pluto in the first house is that our separating desires are to constantly feel like we need to be independent. We constantly feel like we need our freedom, we need to be separate from others to understand ourselves, which will then create this very interesting dynamic within our relationship patterns, is that if we feel that we're being controlled, we create extreme amounts of anger. If we feel that we are insecure, we create security patterns by codependency. And so what happens is that when we start relationships, which is the mirror that reflects back to us who we are through relationships, we find ourselves in dynamics in which we learn about who we are, but then if we feel controlled or stifled or sort of stopped in any way, we need to break free from it, right? We need our independence. So Aries, Pluto in the first house anybody that knows this, that is in your astrology chart, will understand this dynamic within yourself. Okay. Relationships can work like this, for instance, where you're in a relationship, you're not developing your sense of independence, and so therefore creating codependency or being controlled will lead you to having to break free. The second thing is that because the separating desire is to return back to the separating desire is to know who you are. Your returning desire, in other words, to find out who you are, is actually needing a relationship. And so therefore you create this emotional paradox within your consciousness where on one hand you want to be in relationships, but you can't feel like codependent or you can't feel controlled. So therefore you need your independence. But when you are independent, you feel lonely. And so therefore you need another relationship. it's this kind of battle between the two, or this joust between the two, that is a very interesting dynamic associated with Pluto in the fourth and in the first house. So anybody that has the symbolism, or Pluto in Aries, for instance, will relate to this. So the evolutionary intent in this lifetime is to do exactly that, is to develop a sense of inner security, is to develop a sense of outer security and maturity, and to be in relationships that require freedom so that you can explore yourself and through that way. And this is the type of partners that you would need to draw into your life. Pretty neat, eh? Okay, everyone, that's where I'm going to end with this symbolic representation of these two signs. I really hope that that was insightful. And for anybody that was out there that is learning the nature of how Pluto will work within their own constellations, I will be doing the whole 12 signs, of course, starting with Aries like I've done today. And yeah, if you've got any interesting comments or understandings that you want to know about it, just hit the comments below. Write to me, for instance, come over to my website, read about what it is that I do. All my information's at the bottom there. And book a reading with myself as well. As you can see, I'm doing $70 at this point in time. It's a discount on my site. Get the reading right now, because we're obviously going through an extremely massive change within our realities at this stage. And obviously a lot of my work is providing insight into how that works. So yeah, definitely come over to the site. And finally, if you've liked the content and you've enjoyed the stuff that I've brought you, thanks very much. I appreciate that. Hit the like and subscribe button, guys. And please obviously share the information to anybody that you found that this will be useful to. Okay. And lastly, to all my subscribers and supporters, thank you so much, guys. And until then, have a fantastic day. Take care. Bye-bye.